Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. I have done more on social media in the past 30 days than I have in the past 3 years. So that's been an adventure in and of itself. Give me one sec. I'm just setting up camera situations because that's a thing. I think good to go. And I'm super happy to have you here. I've got chats open. If anybody would like to post, say hello, ask any questions, I can see that. So we're here in this process of running an Indiegogo campaign. The board game, Moksha, which me and my team came up with, has been on Indiegogo for 29 and a half days. We are 90% funded, so we've got 10% left to go in the next 30 hours, I believe we have left. So that's a pretty exciting place to be at in our campaign so far. One of the pieces that I wanted to share with is just the amount of an emotional ride that this has been for me. In part, I came up with a lot of this content. It was kind of like a heart storm brain dump that happened close to 10 years ago. I had recently got out of a partnership, and I had come from India where I was traveling and had been given this guidance to share as a teacher, and to do it in a way that was less about my own ideas and more about disseminating information that I could learn from other traditions. And so what that looked like for me was really coming up with the idea of a board game. I grew up playing games as a family, with my grandparents, with my cousins, and it was a way to kind of have this neutral playing field, meaning when we played together, the roles kind of fell away, like who was the parent and who was the child. All of that was kind of secondary to like who was on the blue team and the red team, right? We were playing this game as equals. And it also allowed for immense amount of creativity and silliness that like wasn't what happened at the dinner table in my house, right? So it was this exception to the norm. And so it had me in love with gaming at a really young age, and as a way to play and be present with each other. So after coming back from India and spending time in Maui, I had a relationship end and had this kind of creative surge that can happen when something that we've been doing for a while falls away and this new space opens up. And the drive to share what I've learned from the yoga tradition, from my teachers, from Ram Dass, from Amma, from Thich Nhat Hanh, from people from India and the Far East, have all brought this understanding and this joy of getting kind of my purpose in life, to bring it to other people in a way where they can identify their own purpose in life. And so what that looks like for me was creating a game, in part because when I kind of comb over the world of yoga information, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of classical texts, there is postmodern texts, we have this whole spectrum, right, up to new age texts that are taking the chakras into these deep explanations much further than the Indians ever did in this kind of new wave way. And so rather than adding to the pantheon of texts on these topics, it felt really inspiring to me with this love of game and play to create Moksha. And so I spent several weeks really just putting down content in a way that you might learn in a 200-hour yoga teacher training about our chakra system and the values and the different aspects of really what makes up our body, our physical body, our energetic body, the anatomy piece, the energetic, emotional, intellectual pieces, and gamified it in a way where there was different categories essentially to play. And so this process was kind of like a flood of information coming through, and I kind of couldn't stop the process of creating and writing, and I had the idea from the get-go of kind of being inspired by the game Cranium, if you've ever played it, and that Cranium has kind of multiple games in one, and something about that I loved, because you might feel really good at singing or humming, but drawing a picture or shaping something out of clay or doing pantomime is a little more of an edgy thing for you. So it kind of made the game more fair because everyone has their strengths. And it also gave everyone an edge to work with because everyone has their discomforts. And so being inspired by that, and also inspired by a desire to share the yoga tradition in a way that's playful and accessible, and besides what we get on our mat, besides what we get in a book, how else can we incorporate the themes and the rich, effective traditions of yoga in our lives? And so to create a game that had these four categories, right, that kind of plays off the idea of drawing and acting with this Pictionary inspired or charades inspired categories was a way to learn some of the vernacular or some of the language, the poses. They're all in English, but it has them in Sanskrit too for anybody wanting to learn that piece. But it's not necessary for the game. It's more for people aspiring to grow. And that piece in and of itself was huge. Developing the Sanskrit phonetic language that we've chosen to use in alphabet was working with a Sanskrit scholar, teacher, and friend of mine, Karen Mescal Bannon, who works with ISTA, which learns how to keep original languages intact in their original pronunciation, because language modifies and becomes slang or gets watered down or homogenized over time. And so working with this scholar of supporting how to pronounce the words phonetically in a way that is traditional and accurate, which is such a big part of the vibrational component in these words. And so that was a huge part of it. And then there was the trivia piece, which was where I got to nerd out on all the different aspects of philosophy, deities, chakras. There's 8 different categories in total. Some of them you're going to know more about than others. Others of them are opportunity for you to learn, all in this multiple choice container. And then the 4th category, which pokes a little bit at the idea of competition, right? Because although the game can be played in a contest format, the personal share, you get credit simply for participating. There's no winning in it. So there's these 4 different categories. And that being said, how do you play the game can be done in this contest way, right? With teams, like you would with any other type of party game at a social gathering. But for those of you who prefer collaboration, you can do Moksha, you can play Moksha the same way. Instead of working with teams, you all work together as one group, move around the mandala. So when you get your own copy, you'll see this beautiful board created by Creative Tiffany. And the way the game works is you'll go from the start space around the mandala as you work spiraling to the center into Moksha, or liberation, right? The purpose of the game, the purpose of the yoga practice. And so as you move around these, landing on the different colors, we have the 4 colors that correlate with the 4 categories. And then these purple ones, which are Yogi's Choice, which is fun. When you land on that category, you get to pick which one you want to do before you draw a card. So the cards are here, and this was a major labor of love. As you can tell by the thickness of the deck, there are a lot of them. So they have 4 categories to correlate with the 4 different actions, right? And the 4 yoga paths. And there's 129 cards. So let's say you were to land on a red space, which would correlate with drawing. You would see horse, of course, Sanskrit below it, but you don't have to draw or know the Sanskrit. So you would pick up a pencil and paper, and you'd have 60 seconds to draw the horse using our included recycled paper and wood pencils. And you draw for 60 seconds, right? This action correlates with the yoga path of karma, karma being the path of service or devotion. So each path correlates with one of the 4 categories in the game. Karma is the path of working with our hands, so it correlates with drawing, right? And it's really working with action and service so that we can burn up our old karma, and also doing it in a way that's really doing our best and letting go, so being non-attached, because it's from a place of non-attached action that we also don't accrue new karma. And so it's gamified by using your hands in this way in the drawing category. So if you were to pick up, if you were to land on the yellow space, which is going to correlate with bhakti, and in this game, it's going to be the acting category or pantomime, you'd look and say, what do we have? Oh, we have horse again on the same card, because you won't do it twice. So then you're doing the charades of horse, and you have 60 seconds to pantomime a horse and have your team guess it. Of course, you're not doing yoga poses in any of this. It's more about the play of it, because not everyone knows poses, and really, it's not great to do yoga poses when you're not warmed up anyway. So the idea is to extract the horse embodiment from it and play that out through pantomime. So our 3rd category here, if you were to land on a green petal in the mandala, is our trivia question, right? Which of the following is not one of the 4 oldest Hindu texts known as the Vedas? These texts were orally passed down for thousands of years before being written. These are interpreted as knowledge that contains philosophy, hymns, or rituals, and were preserved by oral traditions before being written in Devangari. Devangari is the phonetic alphabet of Sanskrit. So our 4 options are the Rig, Sama, Yurga, Arthura, or Kambaka. And so the answer, multiple choice, I know because I made the game, and you might know because you may have studied this, is Kumbhaka. Kumbhaka, you'll find the answer on the other side, is breath retention. So not one of the 4 Vedas, but also a big part of the yoga practice is knowing how to use pranayama to guide and direct our energy body. Last category, if you were to land on a blue space, this is often where the personal shares will be, sometimes where you'll find little facilitations. It says, how do you contribute to a just society? Well, you have 60 seconds to answer these too. For me, I'd say it's a big question. Some of them are. You get credit just for participating, but that doesn't mean that they're easy. My desire to contribute to a just society and how I do my best to participate is standing up for anyone I see being victimized or marginalized. It might look like a smaller bodied person, a child. It might look like someone being bullied or picked on. It might look like a group of people, ethnically or socially, or on the spectrum of like gender identity or gender attraction. Any group that can be marginalized and bullied, it's a strong conviction of mine to stand up to that, because we've all been that being in our lives, and to do that in a gentle way, right? To have overcome the beast that was never going to let it happen again, to the gentle giant that will get involved and will do what I can to de-escalate trauma and de-escalate hurt. So that's my share to that question. There's 129 more cards, each with 4 categories to play with. We have Bhakti, as I shared, is our path of love and devotion, and looks like the pantomime category, where players guess who or what you are. The Jnana category, or the path of knowledge and wisdom, is where you have the trivia, multiple choice questions. And the Raja, or the path of meditation, I had a direct experience because in meditation, it's often this union we're looking for in real-time presence. Similarly, when we're sharing these personal vulnerable shares, it tends to be, there tends to be some texture to like the presence and the realness and the vulnerability of it. So the process has been amazing. I feel super grateful to be where we are at in the campaign, blown away that we have only 10% left to go in our less than 30 hours. And I feel really supported and encouraged. And at the same time, to be honest, there has been massive ups and downs in this process. Meaning there have been moments where I'm going, what the heck am I doing? Like, what made me decide to create a thing that in a sense makes me a business owner? I just wanted to create a game for fun, and now I'm learning how to engage social media more and spending more time on my computer and networking with people that own businesses that might want to sell the game. So there's this piece of like, man, I could be on the beach with my dog, right? And there's the piece of all the energy and resources, the hundreds of hours, the thousands of dollars poured in. And then reminding myself, I knew that when I started. I've been an entrepreneur before, and there's always an iceberg you only see the tip of. So I'm smart enough to know that, even if I don't know what exactly is under that tip of the iceberg. And so the process has been one of self-reflection, seeing my own insecurity and self-doubt, self-criticism. Does this even make sense? Is it valuable? Is anybody going to want to play this? To the other space, right? To oscillating to like divine acceptance of, I was called to do this silly, fun, interesting, maybe really beautiful, useful thing in your life. Who knows? And that there's a reason for that. It doesn't necessarily play out the way I expect. Who knows if it does or doesn't, but that the outcome is something beyond me. So there's been this oscillation, just like we have in our mind space, right? The monkey mind of stillness to grasping to object or thought to stillness. There's been this oscillation of gratitude and feeling like I'm being courageous and taking risks and investing in myself. And then there's been the self-doubt moments of like, what am I doing? This is stupid, or this is silly. Nobody's gonna, do yogis play games? Do gamers do yoga? So it's been amazing. It's been transformative in the sense of I've had so much encouragement, and I've had to move through so many portals of self-doubt. And I've been blessed to have friends and allies. I've been blessed to have an amazing team of people that have helped with the design, that have helped with the marketing and sharing and creating a website, things that are in their areas of genius and not mine. So that's really where we're at this point. And I feel grateful to be able to talk about this, to be able to share my game, this beautiful logo that Creative developed. Our graphic designer is an amazing human. And I feel so excited about the potentiality, right? The cool thing about creating a product, which of all the things I've produced, I've never created a product, is this outlives me, right? At some point when I'm not on the earth, someone might have this in their living room playing with their friends and getting value out of it, right? Making memories, getting closer to each other, learning something about yoga, and hopefully laughing into tears. So thank you for listening. Thank you for donating. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you so much for taking these last 30 hours and being willing to share about the campaign, to contribute in any way that feels good and available to you, and for just sending a lot of love and positivity, knowing that this is something that together we can and are accomplishing. So my heart feels full. I hope you have a beautiful evening and sleep well. And I look forward to the next 30 hours and just watching this do something we accomplished together. Thank you. And until tomorrow.